Welcome to the best of the Anthony Cumia Show. 1 hour of highlights from this past week. Comedy, politics, current events, and pop culture. All completely uncensored.
John Valby.
John Valby, wow, yeah.
You pop your earplug in and we could hear him. John, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
And where are you right now? Yeah. Well, you're doing fine, I think. It was a little choppy there for a second, but
yes.
Oh, so well, you see, now you could do this and promote yourself all over the country without even leaving the comfort of your home.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, does the video go out to the crowd too, or they're just listening on radio?
Oh, it's video right now. This is high tech right here.
Yes.
Well, listen, you were just doing retarded stuff. Can I sing you a retard song?
Please do.
Why not, John?
Sure, why not?
Please sing us a
Who could file
retard song.
lawsuit every time he gets a cramp. Make a bank spend millions on a useless fucking ramp. The handicapped can, and we're picking on them because it feels so good. Who can eat his dinner while he takes a dump? Grab the mashed potatoes and stirs them with his stump. The handicapped can, we're picking on him because it feels so good.
John, you're not near a piano, are you?
Oh, I don't have it. Who can go to Disney World, cutting every line, gets the best parking spot every fucking time? Yeah. Anyway, hi.
Jesus.
So, hey, yeah.
Wow.
John.
By the way, the camera work in the reporter shooting was better than it is during this. Fucking.
John, yeah. What are you holding the camera on a juggling pin?
I've never done this. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, like Anthony said, what are you holding the camera on a juggling pin?
A juggling pin?
What is that?
Oh,
It's what you juggle with.
Oh,
what if I lean it on something?
Oh, wow.
oh, that's cool. That's great. You dressed for Jurassic Park.
There you go.
Oh, my
Spared no
God.
expense.
Yes, that's great.
That is great. Jurassic
Fucking, looks like Pope Francis's bedroom. I love John Valby. John Valby's one of my favorite people.
I'm having an old friend for
I was
dinner.
just thinking of that the whole time.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Chilton, I presume.
So, John, yeah, where are you going to be? You're kind of.
I'm going to be at Governor's Saturday night, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Governor's in Levittown. I got to go to that one. It's too close to my house to not go to. I
That
live
would
like
be
right
great.
around
I
there.
would love to see him, man.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And Long Island has always been a great place for John Valby. People from Long Island love you.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I usually play that St. Patrick's Day for that, I think it's BAB or something.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
And what what anything recently in the news that you've made a song about?
Oh, I'm Fat Jared from Subway. I had kitty porn on my PC. Now I'll be getting those $5 footlongs shoved up my ass for free. I'll probably be in jail for years, but that'll be okay. I'd rather eat a plate of prison slop than Subway any day.
That's a good one.
Hey, your house burned. Did you salvage everything or anything in your house, or did you lose everything?
No, it was a total loss. But I built a new house in the same place, and it's much better. And I'm very happy here.
Oh, good for you, man. Good. I was
Yeah, it all
sad to
worked
hear
out.
that. Good.
Yeah, that's wow. That's got to be a pain in the ass, like having to replace everything.
Yes, everything. And we lived in a motel for a month, and then we rented a house for a couple of years while they're building. And it's a real change, but in a way, it's good. You get to start all over, and
Yeah. And are you a man? Are you a man of faith with that giant cross behind you?
No. Oh.
No, my son died of a drug overdose, and my wife.
Oh, jeepers!
Yeah,
Wait, when did that happen?
it's about 3 years ago now.
Oh, I didn't know. How old was he?
29.
Oh, wow, man. I never knew that.
That is wow. That's kind of tough. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ!
it is. It's wow. It just puts partying in perspective, you know.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you were partying a lot. Do you still indulge?
Yes, but I was never a hard drugger. I just like pot and beer and
Right.
tequila.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I was never into the heavy stuff.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of grew up in that whole time when People were doing
or
a lot
maybe
of
just
drugs.
before. I'm 70 now, so
Jesus.
I was just ahead of the cocaine freaks.
Just a little weed and some booze, and you were fine.
Yeah, I got caught for a couple of years in the coke thing, but it's just so stupid. You know, you have 10 minutes of good for 24 hours of fucking feeling like shit.
Yeah, there never seems to be a with cocaine. It's never like, well, I've had enough. I'm done for the night.
No,
it's like, oh, well, that first blast was pretty good. Where can I get that again?
Yeah.
Oh, right, you can't.
Yeah, you do it till it's gone.
Yeah, and then look everywhere for more.
Yeah, then you get on your hands and knees and look in the rug, and before you know it, you're sucking dick for coke, and then before you know it, you stop doing coke, but you're like, the dick part wasn't that bad.
Oh my God! How at 70? How is that touring? I mean, it's gotta be a little rough.
Well, you know, sometimes it's a little harder moving in and out. Sometimes it's harder staying awake driving home. But I'm down to 2 sets now. I never do 3 anymore. So in a way, it's good. And also, there's a lot of good things about 70. You don't have to remember anything. People accept it. And you don't have to lie about anything. You don't give a shit at 70. It's freeing in a way. It really is.
Really, you don't have to. You're not trying to present any front for any ulterior motives. It's like, here's my life. Here's what I do, and go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a good way of looking at it. It gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all bad. You know, going up and down stairs is a little tougher. And when I play golf, after the 9th hole, I have a 5-hour to keep me going.
You're a much different guy in person than you are on stage. Like, we're all a little bit different, but like, when the first time I met John Valby, I had just started comedy, and you were just this nice man, and I expected this animal, and you're a much different guy in your private life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't be like that Dr. Dirty guy all the time. They'd lock you up, man. I mean, that guy's insane.
That is true. And what? So when you're off, what do you do? You like just noodling around on the piano, or you watch TV?
I have a nice recording studio, and I do record a bunch of stuff. I'm a football freak. I watch every single pro game every year. Play a little golf. I like going out to restaurants. I'm a Lord of the Rings freak. I just watched all the appendices to the extended versions. I just love that fantasy.
That's I watched all the kind of behind the scenes footage of that and how they put that together.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how they used all the miniatures and then the CGI and put it all together to look amazing like it did. I love those movies too. Jimmy, not a big fan.
I don't dislike them either. I've just never seen them. I would watch them, but I've just been really busy working on myself.
They're pretty good. Are you like kind of a fantasy or sci-fi guy?
Definitely sci-fi fantasy. I also watch all the Star Wars and the Star Trek and like that.
What do you think of the J.J. Abrams prospect there?
December 18th. I'm going to be there.
I'm pretty psyched about it. We've been disappointed so many times with George Lucas and those prequels. So I think he might do this right this time.
I hope so. I thought the third one of the prequels was pretty good.
Right, because it was done with all the kid movie crap, and we got to where we were supposed to be, I think. But still, that goddamn Hayden Christensen was
he was good.
A whiny,
he was good.
He's a whiny little bastard.
Like Hayden, a nice little Canadian boy. Come on, he was all right.
I loved him, and I tell you, my favorite Jar Jar and the Ewoks, I thought were good. And it's like the only problem I had with the original. When they finally changed it, I hate the fact that they had hand shooting first.
Yes, you liked when Greedo shot first, and it looked really uncomfortable and fake.
Yes, and no, it didn't. And the cantina scene I thought was cute too. I love those little animals. George.
Yeah, Star Wars is not as mature as Lord of the Rings. Star Wars is like 12 years old.
Yeah.
And Lord of the Rings is like 20 years old or something.
So are you a porn guy at all, or is it like you sing about that stuff, but do you really just like watching?
No, I enjoy occasional, yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. I was not expecting that answer, especially in that lecherous tone.
That's why I'm surprised this is your first Skype.
I really like it.
Yeah. Now you'll find out what Skype can really be used for too, which is some sexual encounters.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you hook up and I guess I've never Skyped sexually.
I've Skyped. I'm afraid to jerk off on Skype, but I haven't. The only reason I don't care if people see my dick is I'm afraid that the angle where you need to see my dick would show my stomach and tits, and I would look like a baboon. So I'm like, maybe I'll jerk off Skype in my shirt. I should do that.
Do a couple of dress rehearsals and just video
see how
yourself.
it looks.
See how it looks. Correct the lighting and let it rip.
Yeah.
That's what I said. John Valby, you're going to be at Governor's on Saturday night.
Yeah.
In Levittown on Long Island. Very cool of you to pop in on us like this.
Hey, well, listen,
anywhere else you want to plug?
This is my first Skype, so I'll be a little better prepared. I could actually have had a piano right here.
Well, yeah, that's what that's kind of the way we should do it next time.
Okay. Hey, I'll do it.
That's very cool. Best to you.
Hey, good to see you. You look good, man.
Thank you.
Far.
Thank you, sir. And I think I'm going to see you Saturday night. I'm going to go down to Governor's.
Oh, please do.
I'm free.
All right. See you then.
Thanks, John.
Bye,
Take
John.
it easy, man.
Okay. Bye-bye.
It's the best of the Anthony Cumia Show. The Anthony Cumia Show airs live Monday through Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern in glorious high-definition video, exclusively at anthonycumia.com.
With Killer Instinct, who's the most the most frightening person you've had to sit and talk to? What did they do, and how did you feel about going in there?
Well, in one of the upcoming episodes, it's a story about how these kids broke into this 84-year-old woman's house. Retired teacher, member of the choir at the local church in Palestine, Texas. Lovely woman. Adult son in his 60s, still alive, lives some miles away in Texas. And she's just living her life. And they've talked to her about, okay, maybe it's time that you should, move out of the big house and move into an apartment or assisted living. No, I want to do it. And these kids go in there, rob her, kidnap her, put her in the trunk of her car, and then they sell the car to some other guys and put her in another trunk. And they're driving around for 2 days, showing her off like some trophy, and nobody says a thing. They end up, abusing her, beating her, dumping her in a river where she drowns.
Now you have to talk to these people.
I talked to one of the people who's in prison for the murder, and he is, well, I didn't really do anything. I didn't hurt her. It wasn't my fault. I thought she was dead already. I mean, it's like, but your fingerprints were on the trunk. Witnesses saw you close the trunk on the horn. Witnesses saw you bring the body to the river and put her in the river. At any time, you could have dropped her off at the hospital and taken off. You'd already gotten what you wanted. You sold the car, you robbed her, done. What possibly could you get from killing this 84-year-old woman? And now they're high, right? They're all doped up. But still, I mean, how does it spin out of control that way? Right. Now, this guy's trying to convince me at a prison in Texas that he's wrongly incarcerated.
Yeah.
Now, he had a tough interview that day.
Yeah.
He was tired when he went back to his cell. He was very tired.
Just, I guess we all will never understand it, and that's what makes a show like this so compelling, because you can't imagine another human being thinking and doing these things.
No. I mean, I guess if your back was up against the wall and your loved ones were being threatened, you'd react. It's these heroes, these American citizens in France, who had to make a split-second decision. I mean, but that's clear. That's bad guy, terrorist with AK-47, Luger, and a blade versus a bunch of innocent people on a train going to Paris. These guys were brave enough to make the right split-second decision.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
One of them almost lost his thumb.
Yeah. That's a lot different than.
I'm just saying, but no. I mean, how do these things spin out of control? It's a combination of reasons, and I guess that's why these stories are so compelling, so fascinating, and so highly viewed by our audience.
It's not. I'm not talking in like not a spiritual way, but you go around the country, you go to some of these places where horrific things happen. Is there a feeling in some of these places where it's like, wow, this kind of just gives me the creeps?
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. We're in Wyoming, beautiful, picturesque part of the state, and there was a case there where a young husband took his wife and 5-year-old child up to this mountain peak to go for a picnic. And suddenly there's this frantic 911 call. They've fallen off the cliff. And they go down there and they rescue, they're dead. And so there is suspicion at the time that maybe this guy did this on purpose. But he's ultimately cleared because the sheriff's department rules it an accident. Well, other people aren't so sure, so they keep digging around. And then the same guy, the father, husband, contacts a buddy of his who's kind of a ne'er-do-well drug guy who straightened his life out later and said, hey, I'm out of money again. I need you to help me kill my parents for the insurance money. And so this whole case unravels, into this another fascinating tale. But to stand there on that mountain peak, right? And I get a little heebie-jeebie with heights anyway. I can ski down a 12,000-foot mountain. Don't even think about it. But if I'm standing on the edge of a peak,
it's how gradual the fall is,
right,
I guess.
Right. And I'm looking down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. And the cameraman's saying, move back. I said, this is where we're going to do it, right here. This is because, the light's better. We'll fix the light, because this is where I'm going.
Come here. We could green screen a mountain right here for you.
Do just fine. But to stand there and to imagine that this guy somehow pushed his kids, and he was ultimately convicted, his child and his wife over that edge, you imagine the fear for even that few seconds.
Yeah, to be there
between life and death
at the location like that.
And you got to work to get up there. I mean, this isn't a place where you'd have a picnic normally. I mean, it's beautiful and all that, but it's, it's 30 minutes of, 2-track roads to get up there.
Some of these guys with the insurance policies always get me. It's like, what
very rarely works, by the way.
It very rarely.
I mean, it's like hiring a hitman to kill your spouse. I mean, it's like, do you know that like 85% are ETF agents, by the time you get
They always seem to be cops, those guys.
I'm sure they're real hitmen out there.
Maybe.
But
that and then the insurance policy, it's like not only now do you have the cops after you, but the insurance investigators are going to double.
Who may be even more, aggressive than the cops.
Yeah. They don't want to pay out that money. And it's, they took the policy out 3 months before it happened. And it's for this just a huge amount of money. And they had money problems. And they spell these things out in some of these shows, and you're like, oh my goodness, what are you thinking?
Well, you wonder, these people get delusional. I think sometimes they talk themselves into the fact that they can get away with this stuff, and suddenly their reality becomes truth in their own mind.
Yeah. Were you fascinated growing up with some of the more notorious crimes of the day?
Yeah, maybe it's because my mother read me Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis when I was a young child.
Was that maybe like bedtime story?
maybe that twisted me a little bit. But no, but for whatever reason, I was always fascinated by that. I think we talked once before. I grew up not far from where Hoffa was kidnapped, and was very interested in that. And that sort of gave me the flicker of interest to pursue investigative journalism.
I was over the weekend. I was watching the Jonestown Massacre.
Oh yeah.
There's a docudrama that was on, I think, Netflix. So I watched that, and then it got me to want to watch the actual NBC interviews.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
That they did with him, and oh my God, literally they have a soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Of the murders and suicides that were going on in Jonestown. It's fascinating.
One of my editors at NBC, who was based on the West Coast, is Steve Sung. He was the sound man of that crew in Jonestown. And he'll show you, the scar on his arm from being shot and almost dying.
Shot.
And he actually, to survive, crawled under bodies and waited it out. And he's a great guy and amazingly well-adjusted and went right back to work and was an editor for years in Burbank.
Imagine. Yeah, the interviews of some of the survivors.
Well,
and
the cameraman was killed. The correspondent was killed. The congressman who was leading the investigation was killed. And in the third floor of NBC outside Nightly News, they have sort of a monument for NBC people who have been killed in the line of duty over the years. And David Bloom, obviously, and so many others. But there's a whole section of exhibits from Jonestown. The camera, the strap where the bullet bounced off of Steve Sung's sound equipment, and it's pretty compelling to see.
It's just an amazing to see one person have so much control over people to that extent, and frightening, because when the news guys, when the cameramen and the reporters and whatnot, photographers, started talking about how when the congressman came over, when somebody attempted to kill him in the compound before they were going back to the airport, and he came back with blood on his shirt, he was like, I thought he was our safe, our safety. Right. We have a congressman here. Nothing can happen, no matter how crazy it gets. And then to see him with the blood, that's when he said, I really knew that there could be some serious trouble, and boy, was I'll
have to watch that. That's. I mean, I've seen the NBC stuff, obviously, which is compelling, and talked to Steve over the years about the incident, and it's just chilling to hear his story.
Yeah.
But that's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's pretty good, because comparing it to the actual footage and stuff, they did a good job on it. They didn't try to embellish it or over dramatize things that would happen. I don't think you have to over dramatize something like that.
A mass suicide and the killing of a U.S. congressman and a network TV crew. It's pretty dramatic.
It's but man, what a look into people's minds. Not just Jim Jones, but people that can be kind of turned like that and just.
Well, look at Waco.
Mm-hmm. Another instance.
I mean, that was crazy.
And there always seems to be an abundance of children at these. There was 300 kids killed in Jonestown out of 908, I think, people. All these little kind of communes that they try to put together, and just never seems to work out, does it?
Well, I mean, I think you have. It's really, in a way, somewhat similar to these young American people who are being recruited by ISIS, online, and you see this young couple down south. I mean, the guy's father was one of this, the staples of the Muslim community. The girl was an honor student. I mean, a star in every way. And yet here they are signing up to go join ISIS in Syria.
It's amazing what it took, though, back then to kind of brainwash somebody, I guess.
I think you have a whole segment of the population who, they're looking for something. Their life has gone sour in some way. They want to belong to something. I mean, Tim McVeigh and Terry Nichols, prime example in the Oklahoma City bombing. I mean, these guys, they attacked their own country.
Yeah.
And they felt alienated and let down, and they're bitter about, Waco, and they just let this foment, and they talk to like-minded people, and we're going to make a statement. We're going to be true patriots. And they start to believe their own nonsense.
I guess that part of it never changes, but the ability for other people to kind of tap into
manipulate
those minds.
I mean, they're very charismatic people who can use their power for good or for evil, and the ego becomes so big and so huge that suddenly, again, they're buying their own nonsense, and they've got a compound, and they got people waiting on them, and they got people loving them, and people waiting on them.
What's wrong with that?
Just like at your compound.
That's it, exactly, at the compound.
It's the best of the Anthony Cumia Show. 1 hour of what you missed this week because you're too damn cheap to pay for it.
You're you're talking about like being an adult at the age of 12, 13, 14, like
doing adult stuff, which is not being an adult.
But just
it was just doing. Yeah, they would
having the
for some reason.
Drugs,
all the parents of all those kids, because they all had kids. We used to hang out.
Right.
That's a lot of those parties and barbecues. They just had this assumption that it was like, all right, yeah, we're doing this. We don't want to have a babysitter, or we don't want to not do this, so we'll just bring the kids with us. And there were like every party, there were two parties. There were the adults having the party and the kids having a party but it was kids drinking, fucking,
nothing was
and
being
doing all those.
monitored.
No
line was being drawn.
The kids'
no
party was
supervision
exactly
being
the same
provided.
as the guys' party.
It was like a
I remember so many times being a kid, and it was like, yeah, we'll bring up bring up more beer from the other stable from across there. And it's like, I can't carry all that. Take the dune buggy. Take the dune buggy.
Yeah.
I'm drunk. And
13 and drunk.
And I'm handed the keys to the fucking dune buggy to drive it to the other part of the ranch to get the fucking beers. Yeah. And then you invite everyone else. Yeah, kids, jump in. We're going to take a drunk adolescent drive in pitch blackness.
Yeah.
Grab booze.
What's the drunkest you ever were out there?
It had to be the wine that I poured into the beer cans. This was the first time I was allowed to openly just drink beer. It wasn't the first time I was able to drink beer. I had to ride the bull for 8 seconds. I was like, ride the bull at Jimmy Jackson, stay up for 8 seconds. And they opened the gate. I fell right off. I'm scrambling to get out because the bull turns around and tries to kill you.
Yeah.
So I ran out, and I remember they were baby Brahma bulls. The arena had those aluminum bars around it, and I was going like this, and bam, I hit my head right on that. And they're all laughing. They pull me out, and I was like, how long? How long? He goes, probably a second, if most. And I'm like, fuck. But then he popped a Coors and was like, here. And it was the greatest. Every time I watch Vacation, I just think, my dad gave me a beer. Gosh, I got to tell you, it was about the greatest feeling I ever had.
And there's Anthony guzzling.
And it was.
Gone.
I guzzled that fucking thing down. It was great. Then later on, when I was openly kind of like, he goes, yeah, you can have a beer out of there. Yeah. But he would watch to see if I was drinking 5-10 beers or something. So there was a big jug of red wine. So I drank the beer, held on to the can, and there was just dumping red wine into the beer can and nursing it. But I'm a kid
and wine
drinking,
is like,
drunk off the beer already.
And we never had food in our stomach, so
empty stomach. And now I'm drinking red wine out of a beer can. I remember sitting on the trunk of the '65 Impala that they used to have.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was a great car, man. 4 on the floor, real Mexican rig. It was cool though. And we were driving back to the apartment. It was kind of close to the ranch.
Yeah.
And I was in the back seat, but sitting on top of the back seat of the convertible, like, yeah, this is great. It was the greatest thing. And then we got in the house.
Isn't that with the brick wall going up the stairs?
Yes, up the stairs. Every brick. Dad's holding me under his arm. I'm not a baby. I'm fucking, but he's holding me under his arm as I'm just sprinklering puke. Puke everywhere. Red wine puke.
Yeah.
All over the place.
That took weeks to get.
There were and then he throws me on my bed, and there were newspapers. He spread newspapers all over the floor of my bedroom because I was puking everywhere. And the next day, I don't even know when, what I woke up with what would be the first of many, many horrid hangovers that I had ever had in my life. That, by the way, I still treat the same way. Sleeping until the next night. And it was horrible. But that was the most drunk I ever was at probably 13, 14.
I almost thought it might have been the homebrew.
Oh.
Do you remember that
Juan
shit?
Reyes and Chato Reyes with their home
Chato,
brew.
Mando.
Mando. Who is the other guy? Victor. He'd pull up in this old Ford pickup. Hey, where's the beer? It was like a fucking movie.
They were Dad's Mexican friends.
Yeah.
You know, the old
Dad,
man
most of his friends were Mexican.
Like right around
the old man was
us
definitely
there.
not racist.
Not for
He liked
Mexicans.
Mexicans.
Oh, boy, but...
Old man wouldn't be voting for Trump.
That must be genetic. I don't mind a Mexican either, but... I remember my first N-word.
Homebrew was something that the Mexican guys figured out. They'd get these old sour mash.
They'd buy casks, the big
bourbon barrels,
and
fill them with water about halfway, and then turn them every
You quarter turn them every couple of weeks.
Every couple of weeks, and it would suck the alcohol right out of the wood of these casks, and it was the smoothest.
Oh,
you could drink on a hot day. I could fill a glass this big with ice, and
you'd be like, "Hey, this is great iced tea."
Well, I did several times. There was one time that we were at Chado's Ranch, which was right around the the arena.
Yeah. It was on the other side of another stable. It was
closer to the
riverbed
there.
Yeah.
Closer to the river.
Always close to the river.
Yes, right close to the river.
Close to the river.
You know, they have a recollection of how they got here. It's they loved that river.
It's all the Hondos now.
And I drank down quick, like a glass about this size. And I proceeded to stand up.
That's when it got you. Yeah. We'd all be sitting, drinking this stuff, and talking and laughing, and then you're like, I got to take a piss. Whoa! And you fall right the fuck over. They should have called that muscular dystrophy. Have a glass of muscular dystrophy.
And we're talking like 13, 14. 15
Oh, yeah.
Not much
Just
older than that.
nuts.
The Anthony Cumia Show.
This is the Legion of Skanks podcast.
On a tour one time, I fucked a girl who was a burn victim. Didn't know.
Oh.
Turns out she was burned in all the parts you would find out when you fuck her.
Wow. Wait, she was in a fire or on Jeff Ross's show?
She was roasted.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, yeah. It was
by
bad.
Jeff Ross.
So, yeah, I had a hell of a weekend. 2 gals, and one was...
What's your numbers, do you think, like, long? What do you
That's the most anyone's ever gotten out of a story, by the way, without...
Right.
What's the real thing? Well, you were in a relationship for a long time.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to stock up.
What kind of veggies do you
What do you
eat?
think since you've been single? What do you think how long have you been single for?
About a year and change.
A year. What would you say the number is from that year? Because, I mean, you got to be on a tear. It's almost notorious.
Yeah, I think I'm late 70s.
Whoa!
Wow. A lot of road work. And I opened for Amy Schumer. You got to remember that. So there's
She fucks him every night.
Yeah.
She invites other girls into the room. It's nuts, dude.
I fucked her whole family.
That's incredible, dude.
But there's 4,000 girls at a theater show there to see her, and I'm the opener. I'm
You're
grandfathered
Yeah,
in.
that's amazing.
And,
That's ironic.
and you're an aggressive, like, let's go try to get some pussy guy.
Well, she's very workaholic-y, so she'll just go back to the hotel. So I'm out in Chicago alone, and I get the tweets from hey, great show. You were funny.
And you're on
where are
Tinder.
you?
You do all the Tinder
and
shit,
the Tinder,
all
he's
that,
just
yeah.
swiping like crazy when you land.
So
you know?
Amy's a workaholic?
Yeah, I know. Can you
Is that what it takes?
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
That's all right. So, all right, this weekend, 2 gals. What's going on here? What happened here?
So, first gal.
Where did you get that shirt?
Thrift store.
Got it.
I already got yelled at on the A train, by the way, by Afro-Americane.
I would have guessed that.
Yeah. Black
Hey,
Lives
what's
Matter.
Joe List really like?
All right, sorry. This weekend, go.
Big homo. All right, so meet this girl at a show. Hot Jewish gal, but she was
I love it.
super hot. She had these crazy tight pants on and everything.
She was Hasidic, so she was physically hot. She had an overcoat on, a wig.
Burlap skirt.
Yeah. So we're talking, and she was sorry. I don't know what to do with
You're
that.
right.
That's a bad joke.
Okay, all right.
You were right.
I try to be nice, but she was super nice and like friendly and not hot chick attitude. Like she was friendly and warm and everything.
Out of the gates.
Out of the gate. And I was like, oh, this is odd. She's so hot. And then like we started talking. We get hammered, and we go back to her place. We're laying in bed. She's got a great apartment on Lower East Side, beautiful high rise. We get back there.
Wow.
The
So
clothes,
Jewish.
Yeah, I know. The clothes start coming off, and she goes, I got to stop you. I should let you know I have a prosthetic leg.
Holy
And
shit.
I go, holy. And she's like, a lot of guys are weirded out. I'm like, let's see it. You know, I was so excited.
Yeah.
'Cause she was hot.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Hot with one leg.
That would turn me on, actually.
Oh, I was so
Shut
into
up.
it.
I swear
Were
to
you
God.
on?
Dude, I hooked up with
That
a
would
chick
get
in a
you worked up.
wheelchair. I hooked up with that little
What?
chick with the one arm, the nubby arm.
You hooked up with a wheelchair chick?
Yeah.
I remember,
What?
I
I
almost
remember
had
both of those chicks.
Did you put a broomstick in the
Finish.
spokes?
I'm not gonna lie. Jay had like a surprise tone, and I was completely with him. And then Lou just started rolling off empirical evidence, and I was like, "Wow, that was
I'm with
good."
you. I'm
There's
with
like
you.
all these stories I didn't remember, but like you said, each one you were like, "He did do that." He did
Yeah,
that.
It's just an
That's
extreme
right.
version of
Rolling
them.
indeed.
Oh my
You know
God.
when you say you like a girl that has a little bit of shit wrong with her. So she's a little bit.
The burn victim did not turn me on for the record.
Well, it shouldn't have. Fucking Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, she had Freddy Krueger thighs.
Yeah.
I've always felt like that second leg was just getting in the way. Anyway,
my ex-husband set my pussy on fire.
So she says, "I have a prosthetic leg." You say, "Let me fucking see it already."
Course.
And you're not even joking. You're being genuine. Love it.
It was like a fun party trick.
Are you like, and then I'll see if I'm going to fuck her or not?
No, I knew I was going to do it.
Look at that.
It wasn't that bad.
I think it's just Rebecca Romaine Stamos photoshopped.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but you wouldn't do that, though?
Yeah, that's fine. Who cares?
Yeah, I'd smash.
She has to wear the leg, though.
No.
No, you'll fuck the nub?
I would prefer
you'll grab the nub?
All right, so I want to hear the story. Go.
You're a better man than I.
We were making out and stuff, so it was hot and heavy already. And then she was like, she told me about the leg. So I was like, let's see the leg. And I'm like leaning on my side, like, tell me what happened. So now it's, now it's story time.
That's great.
So what happened?
Was it machinery? Are you a machinist?
I wish. Jet ski accident.
Oh,
Myrtle
shit.
Beach.
Oh,
14.
Oh, she lost it when she was 14?
Yeah, so she was like this cute chick,
Oh,
valedictorian, blah, 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 and then...
What was the accident?
She was on a jet ski and she got
If she's a valedictorian at 14 years old, that's fucking Asian stats.
I might have made up valedictorian.
Isn't that so interesting that you said your first thing was that, she doesn't have hot chick energy, and then you almost like felt that like it's almost like she had just been through such heights and lows that
she was cut down.
Yes, literally.
She had to develop at least one leg's worth of personality.
Dude, she was on her jet ski.
Where?
And another jet ski came zooming at her and fucking smashed into her leg like that.
Yes.
And chopped her leg
It
off.
didn't chop it off, but it was the bones
It
were
mushed it pretty
shattered and
good.
mushed it up, and it was just, you can't use your leg again, so it was either take it off or just have a limpy.
Luz is asking specific questions about the angle, like he hit a chick with a motor ski one time.
Wait, did she get hit starboard?
And he left her alone.
Or was she on the poop deck?
I said my bad, and
This is
then
a
I
good
drove
question.
off.
This is a good question. What would you rather fuck? Chick with an amputated leg with the fake leg, the prosthetic leg, or a chick who decided to keep her purpley destroyed fucking mangled leg that she has to drag around with her.
Her leg's just like a balloon that's been in your house for 3 weeks.
It's like a rotted eggplant. Oh, man.
Oh, shit. I don't know. Let me think.
What would you rather, the real dead leg or her prosthetic leg?
Come on. I don't have the answer.
But hold on, prosthetic leg.
I don't want the prosthetic, Jay. But really,
is she wearing the prosthetic leg?
Hold on, yes. She's wearing the prosthetic leg, but it's not one of the realistic looking ones. It's one of the backwards ostrich legs that are made of metal. So she can run really fast.
Oh, she has a fucking Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Now you've got yourself a philosophical question. All right.
You know what? I'd fuck the Blade Runner. Let me tell you exactly why. Even if she's smoking hot, that's freaky enough to make me last a while. Like, I'll give that girl a good pounder.
Interesting.
I'm not going to blow quick on that. I'm going to have to
Right.
make myself come at some point.
And that curve, you can put your drink on it.
What other
right?
things are you gonna have to think of to get hard? Because you got to think of things involving metal.
No, I'm gonna have her get on her one flesh, one metal knees, and blow me where I can't see the fucking springy leg.
Oh, smart.
And then here's how I gotta come though. I'm gonna have her leg in the air, and I'm gonna be holding the fucking metal of the thing. So that grip alone is gonna keep reminding me that, oh Christ, I'm simply holding a fucking metal kangaroo foot, and I'm gonna have to really think about shit to come. So I'm gonna give this girl a beating.
Yeah.
So when she gets back to the thalidomide community, she's gonna be able to tell those people that Big J delivers the goods.
Nice.
There's my answer.
Here's a problem.
Surmised.
Can I ask you a question? Are you a little bit afraid that now this chick fucked you? You're literally and probably the highest profile, best looking guy she's fucked in a while.
No.
Right? Yes.
Because they don't know till they get back there.
You're on TV.
No, but now
But
she
she
knows.
was rich. Now she knows.
But let
yeah.
me tell you. But you're not afraid she's like comes and listens to this show?
I'm terrified of that. I'm doing this for the good of comedy.
I love it, dude. That means you're fucking a real ass dude.
I'm a crazy idiot.
Well, let me tell you something that means.
But you're being
You just became a realist.
But if you're gonna come on a show and talk honestly about it, it's gonna be the outcome of whatever that is anyway.
What do you mean?
She knows she's gonna be in her act.
If you're gonna fuck her again.
I don't know about that.
Well, say you're probably not anyway,
Yeah.
so it's like it might not hurt her. I don't know. You know what? Let me hear the story before I say it's not going to hurt her feelings.
All
I'll be
right,
honest
no.
with you. For the good of the comedy, I hope the story hurts her feelings.
Well, should I be a nice guy, you know? She's already lost one leg. Why lose some
dignity also?
Yeah. So it was attached at the knee, and I wanted her to leave it on, and we really went at it. And at one point, she was cool about it. I could make a lot of jokes. I kept saying "arr" and shit like that.
No shit.
Yeah, and she
That's
was
funny.
so cool with it. I think she liked that I was treating her like a human being. And like
shitting on her?
Yeah, like a normal person.
It was what T-1000.
Yeah, not an X-Men. So
come with me if you want to live.
Have you seen this boy?
Right.
John Connor.
So at one point, the leg kept falling off because we were really going at it. And at one point, I had her legs up on my shoulders.
Did it wig you out every time?
A little bit, but I had a leg up on the shoulder, and I walked to the bathroom with the leg on as a fun goof.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Did she think it was funny?
She loved it. She was cool as hell. And at one point, she hopped to the bathroom. It was great.
That's funny.
Actually, I get where she would love that because you are just like she probably deals with everybody who avoids it. Like,
yes,
it's like everybody treats her like I don't want to offend you.
Right.
And you're the first person who's just treating her, like whatever. Fuck you. You got this. I got this.
If she was hot and / cool enough,
she was cool and hot.
Could you date her possibly, like for real?
I think so. Yeah,
I think I could too.
The problem is she was too.
I think I could too. I think I could date a girl who was like handicapped for real if I was just way
Mark
in.
Norman would date a freak of nature, guys.
You get to be a hero.
The Anthony Cumia Show.
This is the best of the Gavin McInnes Show.
Mr. Spencer, are you there?
I am here, sir. How are you?
I'm great. I like to do these intros with the person there because I'm not positive I got everything right. So you run the site Jihad Watch.
I do. Guilty as charged.
Okay, I got that part right. I met you at a Restoration Weekend a few years ago.
I remember that.
But I've been following Jihad Watch for a while. I feel like I'm one of these New Yorkers like Anthony Cumia and Pamela Geller who wasn't really that interested in Islam until 9/11, and we've become obsessed ever since. And I don't think it's a result of a trauma. I think it's that day taught a lot of people that when you see a group looming, they don't affect your life, that's not irrelevant, because that group will affect your life if you keep ignoring them.
Absolutely.
No, got it. You've got a new book out. What's it called?
The Complete Infidel's Guide to ISIS.
And that's out today, is it not?
It is. This is the big day.
Do you have a copy, or Rat? Can you pull it?
I have one right here.
Let's see it.
Let's see. There we go.
That looks like the. I have the politically incorrect guide to Islam. Is it?
Yeah. Well, this actually is patterned after the Complete Infidel's Guide to the Quran, which I wrote a few years ago. But it's all the same idea.
It's writing about extremist Islam in a fun way.
Yeah, well, I think that when we're confronted with an evil as monumental as the Islamic State, it's important to bear in mind what Thomas More said, that the devil is a proud spirit who cannot endure to be mocked. And so to keep a light heart and to engage in some mockery of this evil, I think is all to the good.
Right. Well, that's the common refrain with things like the Muhammad drawings. They say, well, you knew that was going to make them mad. Why'd you do it? And you go, what if it made you mad that I wore Chuck Taylors?
Exactly.
When does it stop?
Are we going to submit to violent intimidation, or are we going to stand up? That's all that was all about, the Muhammad cartoons. People say, well, how can you do that? How can you offend them and mock their religion? And the reality is nobody would care about mocking their religion if they weren't killing people and saying, if you do this, we will kill you, over these innocuous cartoons. And that made it imperative for us to do that in order to stand up and show them you cannot bully us, you cannot get what you want by threatening to kill us or even killing us. There are some people who are going to stand and defend freedom no matter what.
Well, when you think of Catholic priests molesting boy jokes, that joke has become so common, it's actually boring. It's considered easy comedy like fat chick jokes.
Absolutely.
Every religion gets mocked heedlessly.
Yeah, and nobody's killing over. As a matter of fact, I think there ought to be more Catholic priest jokes, because that's a scandal, an ongoing and unfolding scandal even to this day that hasn't been faced by the bishops. And so, we need more jokes, more mockery. Maybe it will shame them into action. But nobody's killing.
Well, careful now. I'm a newly discovered Catholic. I think if you are going to make Catholic priest jokes, we have to acknowledge that these are gay priests.
Yes.
And we're really fighting homosexuals
who entered the church because I guess they were ashamed of their homosexuality, and they are acting upon their impulses. They're not molesting 3-year-olds. They're molesting pubescent boys. But anyway, I digress. A lot of people talk about how Iran in 1960, if you were to look at a picture, you'd see women in miniskirts, in a lab taking chemistry class. And you look at it today and you go, this is one of the only cultures I've seen go backwards. And no one brings up this possibility. It's my firm belief that the reason this culture's gone backwards is because of inbreeding. Muhammad said you could marry your first cousin. You do that 1 or 2 generations, it's not great. You do it 40 generations, and you get dumber.
That may be, Gavin, but really it's sort of a pendulum swinging back and forth all the way through Islamic history. There are periods of great strictness where they follow the law no matter what and are very draconian about it, chopping off heads, chopping off hands, and all that. And then periods where they relax because, Muslims are like anybody else. They don't want to live under this draconian, inhuman law. Or if they do because they're convinced that it's the law of God, they can only take it for a short period. And then they start to rebel. We see this with Iran. In Iran, Khomeini was put in by a popular revolution. They thought, we're not being Islamic enough. We have to be more Islamic. But after a few years, they're bloody sick of it and would be very happy to get rid of that regime if they were able to do so. And it's the same thing all the way through Islamic history. This is presented as the law of God. It's presented as the absolute immutable thing you have to follow, but it's inhuman. It is offensive and oppressive to women, to non-Muslims, to gays, to so many others, denies the freedom of speech, denies the freedom of conscience. So after a while, they start to relax. And that's what you saw not only in Iran, but in Egypt and Afghanistan and all over the Middle East and the Islamic world. In the 60s, you see pictures of women without their heads covered, in miniskirts, as you say. But then there's a reaction. They say, this is why our economies are faltering. This is why we're not prospering like we should, because we're disobeying a law. So we have to get more Islamic. So they get more Islamic, then they can't stand it, and they start to relax again. And we're seeing that slowly coming around again in Iran now.
What do you think about Irshad Manji? What is she? The Trouble with Islam was her book, and her contention is that it was just some sort of wild fringe group, like in America we have those evangelicals, whatever they're called, who believe that they can avoid snake bites if they believe enough. They become immune to snakes.
Snake handlers.
Yeah, it's a group that esoteric, snowballing and taking over the whole religion, just like imagine all of America's Christians were snake handlers.
Well, I suppose it's a comforting thought to think that that's the way it was. But you're really actually talking about it as if what Irshad is saying is true, then the snake handlers not only are in charge now, but they always have been. And they have had the dominant mainstream theological understanding of Islam from the time of Muhammad to today. And so that really sort of cuts against her claim that they represent some sort of fringe group. The problem, I wish Irshad all success in her attempts to reform Islam and to cut out these inhumane practices that so mark it today. But when she speaks about Islamic history as if it were some bastion of multiculturalism and tolerance and intellectual exploration, this is historical fantasy. It's very common historical fantasy nowadays. But if you really look into the history, you'll see there's nothing to it.
I was sitting with Ayaan Hirsi Ali once, and there was a separate news program going on, and it was showing spring break people partying in bikinis and stuff. And she was saying, this kind of imagery, the fact that America shows this kind of imagery, helps fuel Jihad and ISIS because they see this sort of hedonism going on. And I was looking at it going, those kids are partying, and what they're doing is awesome. And then I started to worry if maybe she is some sort of genetic Muslim, and it's a trait, a DNA, where she doesn't want to, liberate society. She just wants to sort of tweak the extremists and let women not wear the hijab. But ultimately, she's still incredibly conservative and incompatible with the Western world in many senses.
Well, I don't know. Every time I've met Ayaan, she's been just wonderful and very gracious and extraordinarily insightful. And so I really don't know if I'd go that far. I can tell you that when it comes to that idea, she's not the only one who said that. Dinesh D'Souza actually wrote a whole book about it in 2007, and I debated him on that issue. And the big problem with that idea, certainly the decadence and hedonism of the West are part of jihadist propaganda. But you go back in history and you find that when the West was not decadent and hedonistic, the Islamic jihadis were saying it was anyway. And, Syed Qutb, the leading Muslim Brotherhood theorist, he lived in Colorado in the 40s when Doris Day was at the top of the pop charts and American pop culture was very wholesome. And he came away denouncing America for being decadent and hedonistic. And the problem is it doesn't really matter what we do. They always say that. It's just a staple of their polemic.
Well, this was something that came up when we met. I said, what makes them so mad? Is it our foreign policy? Is it Israel? Or is it the Quran? Or is it inbreeding?
Well, I'll tell you, I read the Quran all the time, and I can tell you that it's got plenty of exhortations to warfare against the unbelievers. And one of the most notable ones is chapter 9, verse 29, which says, fight against those who do not obey Allah and his messenger, and do not forbid what he has forbidden, even if they are of the people of the book, which is the Jews and Christians primarily, until they pay the jizya, which is a tax, with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. Now note, it does not say fight against the people of the book, the Jews and Christians whose foreign policy you don't like, or whose pop culture you don't like, or whatever else. It just says fight against the Jews and Christians, the people of the book, full stop. And that means it doesn't matter what we do.
Right.
They have the imperative to fight us that comes from the core of the religion, the Quran.
Well, look what they do to each other. No one kills more Muslims than Muslims. So how can it be our fault?
Well, that's takfir, you declare another group to be non-Muslim, and the penalty for heresy or apostasy is death. And so the Sunnis fight the Shiites because they're heretics, the Shiites fight the Sunnis because they think they're heretics, and so on, and everybody kills everybody else. So it's certainly not our fault. These things were going on for centuries before we ever got involved. Condoleezza Rice a few years ago, she said, the Middle East still thinks of things in terms of Sunni and Shiite, and they're just going to have to get over that. And I was thinking, Madam Secretary, with all due respect, they were thinking of things in Sunni Shiite terms long before the U.S. was there, and long after we're gone, they're still going to be. These things have nothing to do whatsoever with anything regarding our foreign policy.
Let's think of some things, some attacks that could not possibly be traced back to America, the West, foreign policy. The attacks in the Philippines, for example.
Philippines is good. There's the Mindanao separatists who want to establish an Islamic state in the southern Philippines. And people think, well, that's an indigenous independence group. What's the big deal? But the fact is, you look everywhere around the globe, Gavin, and you find Islamic separatists saying we want an Islamic state in this area or that area, whatever area of the world, because it's a principle of Islam that Muslims must not be ruled over by non-Muslims. And when they are, the Muslims have the obligation to dislodge them from that power by any means possible. So you have this thing in Mindanao. We just had the explosion in Thailand at a Hindu shrine by a Muslim who's been identified by name but is still at large. Now, why would a Muslim go to a Hindu shrine frequented by Buddhists as well in Bangkok and blow it up? Obviously nothing to do with Israel, nothing to do with U.S. foreign policy. It has everything to do with Islamic jihad grievances against Hindus, against Buddhists, and against the Thai government.
I was watching the Bill Maher show, and they had a meathead from Archie Bunker. I always forget his name. But he was saying, we started this whole mess by starting to get Sunnis and Shiites to fight each other. It was a strange subtext because it was Saddam was terrible, but we got rid of him, and he was the one who was keeping the Sunnis and the Shiite, the Bloods and the Crips separate, and we started a gang war. But then to that, and of course Bill Maher didn't say this, but okay, how do you explain British Muslims throwing butyric acid on their daughter's face? How is that anything American or Western?
It's nothing American, and it's nothing even Sunni or Shiite that the Americans stirred up. It has to do with the fact that there's this very strong honor code in Islam. If women get out of line, if women are considered to have transgressed some way sexually, then they've sullied the family's honor. The father is not punished. There's no penalty in Islamic law for a father who kills a child, especially for honor. All over the Middle East, all over the Muslim world, in Jordan, in Syria, in Iraq, in other countries, there are lesser penalties for honor killing. So in other words, if I kill somebody and then I'm on trial for murder, and that's it for me. But if I kill, say, my daughter, and I can convince the judge it was for honor, I'll get a light sentence and be out in a few years, if that. Now, this is something, obviously, these things are rooted in Islamic law. They are not rooted in American foreign policy by any stretch of the imagination.
The Anthony Cumia Show. Now we're talking uncensored. If you like what you hear, visit AnthonyCumia.com for subscription information and show details. And never miss a minute of fully archived shows available at any time in streaming HD video or audio download.